Hello, everyone. I'm really delighted to be able to join you for the Robert F. Kennedy Human Rights Award presentation, and very happy to be part of this presentation process, virtual for all of us, which we are still getting used to and finding challenging. May we all get back to the ability to be able to meet together, dine together, and celebrate together, as I think everybody is impatient for that moment. It's almost cliched to say that 2020 has been a year like no other. President Kennedy and Robert Kennedy often invoke the old Chinese curse or proverb, may you live in interesting times. And certainly, these are interesting times. They're also dangerous times. There are times when our values are being put to test, and times when indigenous peoples particularly are suffering for the degree to which they have been isolated in many cases and exploited in so many others. Robert Kennedy's sense of conscience helped America in a time that I personally remember very well, the difficulties of the 1960s, helped the world navigate what was then a volatile period of the 60s, where the issue of our values and the questions of our survival were literally the day-to-day issues in our nation. As it was for Robert Kennedy, the question for all of us was, what could we do individually and what were we willing to do together in order to ensure that our country and the world would answer that question, not just right, but within the right amount of time. And that is the very heart of what we now face with this global challenge of the climate crisis. And it's not just a question of will we respond, it is a serious question of whether or not we will summon the will to respond in time. And when I negotiated for President Obama in Paris on the climate agreement, when we walked out, I said at that time that nobody should be under the illusion that we had promised the world and guaranteed we were going to be able to hold the Earth's rise of temperature to 2 degrees centigrade. We didn't. What we did was create a roadmap to be able to get there, not a GPS on automatic pilot. And it is literally a roadmap through the wilderness, a roadmap that required that we listen to and hear people in so many isolated areas of our world where they suffer the consequences of the climate crisis, but have not contributed to it almost at all. No people have more at stake in the outcome of this struggle, and no people have done more to touch our collective conscience than the world's indigenous peoples, those who do suffer the most for what the developed, industrialized world has created. And for centuries, indigenous peoples have suffered oppression and marginalization. And too often their rights have been denied, crushed, annihilated, especially their right to self-determination, discrimination in access to culturally appropriate education, to health services, to justice, to even a seat at the table to participate in the distribution of power or the execution of decisions. All of those are still very real threats to indigenous peoples around the world, as they still are to Native Americans. Indigenous peoples, we know, are often subject to degrading stereotypes and to assumptions that, quote, civilized people can and should make decisions for them. But as we celebrate tonight in a very special way, we know, and this award in a sense affirms, that indigenous peoples are beyond resilient. They're wise, they're courageous. The rest of us should learn so much from them, starting with how to take care of our environment, how to keep our rivers clean and strong, how to keep our lands fertile and healthy, how to take care of our people and our habitat in a sustainable way. As the individual who was privileged to sign the Paris Accords at the United Nations with my granddaughter sitting on my lap, I can affirm to all of you that we have a lot to learn from indigenous people about how not to rob the world's children of their future. The Munduruku people in Brazil are warriors, warriors of many different kinds. And they have survived more than 500 years of oppression, of attempts to destroy their ancestral lands, of attempts to abscond with all of their natural resources. The Munduruku have successfully, amazingly, stopped hydroelectric projects that would have irreparably damaged their water resources and would have negatively impacted the entire Amazon ecosystem. And they actively resisted the constant, violent, illegal, and sometimes state-sponsored push by loggers and miners to exploit their land. Time and again, they have stood up to those who invade their territories. They have defied the violence and the intimidation, and they have demanded a proper say in any project that affects their lives. Alessandra, our principal honoree, and the Munduruku people remind us of exactly what it is to fight and what it is to persevere. Alessandra, you are without any question whatsoever one of the most courageous human rights defenders in our hemisphere, if not on the planet. And we should all feel so privileged to be part of this celebration that lifts up Alessandra Korap Munduruku with an honor that reminds us, in the words of Robert Kennedy, just how important it is to get people of power to live for the public rather than off the public. Alessandra, you have spoken and continue to speak truth to power. You fight for the public. I know those things are easy for me to say. They're tough for you to do and tough for your people to do with you. And it's quite extraordinary the way in which you fight for the planet's lungs, the way you fight to protect our land, and for all those common goods that we need to strive to save and to share. So tonight, we all commit to fight by your side. And it's with great, great pleasure and pride that I join with everybody in affirming your remarkable acts of leadership, acts of conscience, your courage, and what you have done to preserve and protect for the future. We need millions more of you. So thank you. Congratulations on this terrific honor, the Robert F. Kennedy Human Rights Award. And I know you're going to continue to be part of this great battle. I look forward to fighting alongside. Take care, good night, and God bless.